always made us do it. Me and Matt are back. How are you doing, Matt?
Pretty good, so yourself?
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm good. I'm looking forward to talking about this film because this is an amazing film. But I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah.
I got Netflix back this week, and I finished work about 3 o'clock on Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday, and I watched the whole of Cobra Kai in one night because it was just that good. And all I want to talk about is Cobra Kai. That's all I want to talk about.
I was very good. I sort of watched a couple of episodes and was like, right, I'm going to stop there.
No,
I'm going to walk away and I'm going to watch some more. So I watched it in two sittings. Basically.
That was my plan.
Which in itself, is pretty good.
Yeah, I think I started at 3 and I finished about 9:30. And I stopped for like half an hour to cook food. That was it. I was absolutely season 3. This show is getting better and better. It's just getting better. But we're not talking about it today, which as much as I'd like to, because that will take the whole show up if we start talking about Cobra Kai. We are talking about Strange Days from 1995. I rewatched this last night.
Catherine Bigelow.
Directed by Catherine Bigelow.
James Cameron and produced by James Cameron, if I remember rightly, as well.
Who
were a married couple at the time.
They were, of course. Catherine Bigelow is famous to us for Near Dark, and Point Break, I guess. But I always think of Near Dark whenever I think of Catherine Bigelow. It's Near Dark.
Same here. I think that's probably the first. Pretty sure that's the first thing I ever watched by her.
And it's like one of those criminally underrated movies as well. Like everyone goes to Lost Boys straight away, and I think Near Dark is a really good movie in its own right.
I prefer Lost Boys because Lost Boys was that was my jam, maybe. But I saw Near Dark roughly the same time, and I think that things that put me off about Near Dark at the time now I've got different opinions on. Yeah, I mean, I still hate the ending. I still hate the blood transfusion thing. I think that's utter bullshit.
I can agree with that.
Other than that, that movie is fucking awesome.
It is. It's a tremendous movie, and that's the movie I always think about when I think of Catherine Bigelow, and then I guess Point Break probably shortly after. But I rewatched this last night. It's been a while. Sorry.
I was going to say, and sadly, this film derailed her career for a while,
which is amazing. Amazing.
It completely tanked when it came out. No one really went to see it.
Well,
I think a lot of people. I don't know whether it was just too miserable.
It's a pretty dour movie, to be honest.
The incoming years, or But no one really went to see it. I don't think the marketing was great. I don't remember the marketing
wasn't great. I think the budget was kind of supposedly going to be split between this and True Lies, which is the other Cameron movie being made around the same time, and it was completely disproportionate in terms of what they got. I think this movie had like a budget of 42 million, and against True Lies, which was probably almost 100 or something. I don't know at the time.
But that made True Lies made stupid.
Oh, it did. Of course it did. Of course it did. But I'm not sure if Cameron and Bigelow were still together at this time, but they continued working together even after they'd split up. So they've had a working relationship forever. This movie, I rewatched it last night. It's been a long time since I watched this movie. I actually made the mistake. I actually made the mistake of assuming that I owned it, which I don't.
Yeah, same.
Well, I do now. So I didn't.
Annoyingly, it's on no streaming sites, and it's actually only available like on DVD. You can't find it anywhere else.
Well, this is the problem. So I assumed I had it on DVD. And I didn't. And then I thought, well, that's not a problem. I'm sure my housemate has got it. Because funny enough, me and my housemate talked about this movie, must have been within the last month. So I thought, he must have it. And I looked through all of his DVDs. He didn't have it. And then I thought, well, that's not a problem. I'll find it on a streaming site. Couldn't find it on a streaming site. Couldn't even find it to rent. In the end, I ended up having to buy it on Amazon. So I bought the DVD on Amazon. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not been picked up by a streaming site, because there could not be a more relevant film than this movie right now. That like 2020 and 2021.
Because it's
oh
been
my
a while
god,
since I'd seen it as well, and it's so on the nose right now. It's like
if this was made now, you'd be like, "Oh, this is a bit on the nose." You know, like if it came out this year, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a bit on the nose." Come on, but I mean, it's never been more relevant than it is right now. This film,
and I think I don't know whether it would have made more a difference if it was made earlier, because Cameron was sitting on the script since the mid '80s, I think.
I think he wrote it around the same time he was working on Terminator and stuff, and that kind of period.
So I think he just kept sort of other projects came up, and he basically sat on it. And I think Catherine Bigelow found it and said, can I make this? And he sort of said yes. And I don't know whether if they would have made it earlier, maybe more people would have seen it, because it would have been quite so close to the millennium, and people might have been a bit more easy with the impending, possible end of the world, as some people I think thought.
yeah. It's such a Cameron movie as well. When you learn about Cameron as a person, you learn his love of camera and new cameras and new camera techniques and new filming techniques. A movie literally about someone inventing a new form of camera effectively. It's very Cameron.
He invented. They couldn't find a camera that would do what they wanted for the squid scenes.
No, and that's something.
And they went away and made one.
Well, and honestly, that was the first thing that really struck me, because it is the opening scene of the movie, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I was just in awe watching that opening, and I was thinking, how in God's name did they do this scene in 1995, probably when they were making it. I mean, nowadays you're like, it's a GoPro, fine.
Exactly, yeah.
But 94,
someone's phone or whatever.
Yeah, 1994. Yeah. I mean, go look at professional cameras and the size of them and the weight of them in 1994. It's an amazing achievement what they managed to do here for the time.
Absolutely.
And it's just a wonderful movie, and I'm really glad you suggested it, because I think the only time I ever owned this film, in quotations, was taped off the TV. I think I had it taped off the TV as a kid, or as a kid,
I've
young
got
adult.
A VHS copy. I'm pretty sure I've still got a VHS copy somewhere, but I don't have a VHS player for it anymore. So
I've got a VHS player here, but I don't have it on VHS. And maybe I did own it on VHS. I'm sure I had it just taped off the TV, though. That's my suspicion. A lot of my stuff as a kid was taped off the TV. So
yeah, same here. I'm trying to remember whether I went to the cinema to see it, and I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I got it out on video when it came out.
Yeah. So
because I think the marketing was so bad, even for the DVD, for the video.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was one of those it was probably a trailer on some naff sci-fi movie that I saw it and was like, actually that looks all right. I'll give that a go.
Yeah. So yes, released in 1995. Distributed by 20th Century Fox, and as you said, directed by Catherine Bigelow, produced and written by James Cameron, and starring Ralph Fiennes, Angela Bassett, Juliette Lewis. I mean, the cast in this movie is something else. It really is something else.
I mean, even some of the minor players, D'Onofrio, Glenn Plummer. You've got Richard Edson, who's always playing these odd little characters, who's just playing other odd characters.
Yeah.
William Fichtner, who is that guy in that film. He's like the quintessential guy in that film. And of course Tom Sizemore as well.
Yeah.
And the thing about this is, as well, as I think Ralph Fiennes had not long got an Oscar for Schindler's List.
Yeah.
And Angela Bassett, I think, had got one for What's Love Got to Do with It. So their career, they were both on quite highs after that. So
I would honestly say
almost everything about this movie it should have like made it a hit, but
they should have got awards for this movie. Ralph Fiennes' performance in this and Angela Bassett's performance in this are amazing. She's great in this movie. For me, it's her movie. It's her movie for me. Like,
it's totally her movie.
It's her movie. She is so badass in this film.
One of her best performances.
It's great.
It's so good.
She's tremendous.
And she's never looked so good. I don't think. I think she looks fantastic.
No, the braids are awesome.
And it's a simple. Yeah, it's a simple look that she has, and when she's in that. In the
suit with the braids,
awesome.
She looks badass, and she is badass in this film. And Ralph Fiennes, it's interesting. Whenever I watch a film with Ralph Fiennes in it, I always think, God, I forgot how good Ralph Fiennes is. You know, like every time I see him.
What it is about Ralph Fiennes? Yeah, you know he's a good actor.
You know he's great, but then you see him and you're like, God, he's really good, isn't he? And like every time I see him, even when I saw him in like the latest Bond movies, you know, because he was in Skyfall, I think. It's like, he's just every time I see him, I'm like, oh, Ralph Fiennes is such a good actor, and his range. His range is huge. I mean, here he's playing a character like no character he ever played before. You know,
I don't, not certainly not.
So different. His roles are so varied. He's a tremendous actor, and I always feel bad because whenever I see him in something, I'm like, God, he's really good, isn't he, Ralph Fiennes?
Yeah,
like he is. You know, he's award winning.
I don't think he's an actor that you sort of necessarily seek out the films of, is he? He's not. I'm sure there are people who do, but for me personally, it's like I know how good he is.
Yeah.
But if I hear that he's going to be in a movie, I won't sort of go, oh, I'm going to definitely go and see that.
No, and then in reality, we probably should.
Yeah.
You know,
I think there's a movie he's got coming out where he plays a guy who was an archaeologist. I think in the I want to say 40s or 30s.
All right.
I think it might be. Right, don't quote me on this, but I think it might be to do with the Sutton Hoo excavation.
Oh, okay.
So again, he's got this sort of like this like weird English accent. Can't remember what accent it is, but it's a specific accent, and it's like, wow, he's like really good, isn't he? It's sort of weird that you sort of forget that. It's just bizarre.
Well, let's talk about this film, shall we? And as usual,
let's do it.
We'll go through the plot and ruin it for everyone. It's the film is set in the last few days of 1999 as we approach the millennium. Film was made in 94, so no mention of the millennium bug here. It's pre-millennium bug fear.
BBC Two showed this movie the day before on the exact day it starts.
Amazing.
Just before the millennium.
I'd like to watch it so that the New Year's party happened at the time. Cool. But I never did that back then. But that would have been cool. So it's the last few days of 1999, and we're in Los Angeles, which is a shithole. As you would imagine from those sort of future movies set in the future. LA is a war zone.
I mean, it's only 5 years in the future, and I know maybe that was that. I think that definitely contributed to why people didn't want to see it.
Well, maybe. One thing I will say for this movie, as we're introduced to this world and you see this world, it's very realistic. It's very down to earth. Of a lot of films that go like, it's the future. They'll do some crazy thing.
Stick a jetpack in it.
Yeah, stick a jet, flying cars. This film, for the most part, it's our world, and there's very little difference about it. There's just a new piece of tech. There's just one new piece of tech, really.
Pretty much the only thing that's kind of different, isn't it, really?
Tiny things here and there, but for the most part, it's very down to earth, and it just has this one invention called the squid. And as we open the movie, we see the squid in use. So we get a first-person view of a bunch of criminals who rob a Chinese restaurant. And effectively, ends in disaster. Ends in disaster. The police show up. The robbers attempt to escape and basically all die.
Via the roof.
Yeah.
But they try to escape via the roof, trying to jump across the building, and basically he slips and falls to his death.
Fails. He slips and falls to his death. And we then see that this was actually the the recordings of the device called the Squid, as we're introduced to Lenny, played by Ralph Fiennes, and effectively it's not just VR. It's not just like this is what that person was seeing at the time.
Yeah, no,
you get everything. You get the feelings, felt. You get the sensations, so all the physical sensations,
all the adrenaline rush, all the fear, everything that person felt at that time. You get
exactly, yeah, and it's an illegal device. I think they say at one point it was created by the military.
Yes,
and then
it was created. It was created for the police.
Oh, that's right.
To replace their cameras, so that they could show evidence instead of just like giving it like they normally would.
Yes, yeah. But it's obviously fallen into the black market.
Yeah, it's now become a black market thing.
And Lenny, who is himself a former LAPD officer, now sells these recordings. That's his job now. He sells these illegal recordings, and he's just witnessed this one here. When we see he wakes up and he's like, oh Jesus Christ, he makes a point at this point.
Yes, it's where you establish the fact that he does not deal in what he calls blackjack, which is the
snuff. He doesn't deal in death.
Anything to do with death, rape, or murder or anything like that. He doesn't deal in any of that.
No, he has some morals, and that comes through. He is, he's a very shifty, sometimes cowardly person, but he does have his morals. He's dodgy as fuck, yeah. But he does have some strict moral code. In that he won't deal in death, he won't deal in rape, he won't deal in murder. So yeah, he and I think he does offer to buy this clip of the robbery from him, but he says I'm going to have to edit it.
He's going to edit it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to have to edit it.
The last 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, so he's gonna reduce the amount he's going to pay him because of that. And so that's from his main supplier called Tick, who we'll come back to a little later. In the meantime, we see that a prostitute named Iris, who is a friend of Lenny's ex-girlfriend, who we will meet shortly, is being chased by the LAPD, by Burton and Dwayne. Iris... which is a great chase, by the way. Again, I will say the action scenes in this are really tense and really well shot.
They're fantastic. Really good.
And so Iris is basically being chased by these two LAPD officers and manages to escape on a subway car. But in the ensuing struggle, one of the policemen manages to pull off her wig, revealing that she had a squid recorder headset. This becomes a running theme of the movie. Lots of people wear wigs in this film to hide their the squid. So whenever they're doing illegal recording, they've usually got a wig on. Which is funny because the guy who looks like he's most obviously wearing a wig the whole way through the movie, turns out at the end he was wearing a wig the whole entire movie. Could you look first time you see him, you're like, that's a wig. So the police realized, the two policemen realized that she was recording the whole thing effectively. So Lenny's ex-girlfriend Faith, played by Juliette Lewis, is, I guess, safe to say if not the love of Lenny's life, then certainly the lust of Lenny's life. He pines after her.
Certainly is obsession.
He is obsessive. Yeah, he's really obsessive over Faith. But he gets his emotional support from Mace, who's his best friend, effectively, and we find out why a little later.
Yeah.
But effectively, during a dark time, should we say, or a terrible incident in Mace's life, Lenny was there while working for the LAPD. He was there to comfort her kid. And I guess a friendship, grew from there. It's heavily hinted that Mace has feelings for Lenny, but they're unrequited because Lenny is just obsessed with Faith. effectively.
Yeah, Lenny can't see her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so she's still.
Well, then I think you get basically him. You see him selling. You get these like scenes of him going around LA buying clips from different people, selling clips to.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, isn't it? When you watch this movie does a fantastic job of world building and character introduction.
Yeah, in a very short period of time as well.
In a very short period of time, yes.
And you get to see him, traveling around LA and how decadent and how fucked it is.
Yeah,
and just him going around and talking to sort of people and buying bits and pieces up, and it does the world building really, really well.
It's incredible. And you kind of get everything from personal relationships to the political situation. Pretty much everything. You're right. It's done very quickly, or pretty quickly. The movie itself, the story of this movie itself, is quite a slow burner anyway. It's about 2.5 hours long, and you're about an hour in before things really start heating up.
Despite the technology, it could almost be like a Chandler story or a sort of a noir movie.
Yes, there's something very noir about it.
It has those feelings, those sort of feelings about them. Even in some places to the lighting and everything.
So Mace, as we said, has these unrequited feelings for Lenny, but she really doesn't like that he deals in the squid stuff. She's never tried it, and she's pretty much dead against it. She thinks it's illegal. Well, it is illegal. She doesn't think that's a fact. It's illegal. And she disapproves of basically what he's become, I think, really.
Yeah, I think we're introduced to Tom Sizemore's character first, Max, aren't we? He's selling...
Yes.
He's making a deal with with a lawyer, I think he is.
Oh, that's right, because Mace picks him up from here. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. He's showing him some stuff, and he's because the guy, the lawyer, obviously wants something specific, and he's getting into the nuances, and he sells him this this thing, and then Tom Sizemore shows up pretending to be a cop, and says he's going to arrest him, and of course he's just pulling his chain, because you find out that Tom Sizemore's character Max was an ex-cop as well. They were on the force together, but his character got injured in the line of duty, and now he's a private detective.
Yes, yeah, and we get a sense that, well, we'll get into that, but we get the sense that they are very good friends. Let's put it that way, or
yes,
we're
well, you think probably best friends. I think they were definitely they worked together, so I think they obviously came up together, as it were, and so they're like real old friends.
I will be honest, from the first time I saw this movie, I had him pinned as the bad guy. I was like, he's gonna double cross him. He's gonna double cross him.
I think that's the weak point of this movie, and
I think so too. It's the one weak point.
It's partially down to Tom Sizemore.
Yeah,
I think he's just an untrustworthy character.
I don't know. He doesn't do anything wrong, but just just his face. I just don't trust his face.
Untrustworthy.
Yeah, I just don't trust. That is a problem with some movies. You do get typecast, and he is one of those people. As soon as I saw him, I was like, he's going to double cross you. He's a shifty. Yeah. And rewatching it, it was even worse this time around. Watching it yesterday, I was like, oh, he's so obviously the villain. But yeah, so he does. Yeah, he meets with him, and they end up drinking in the bar, don't they? That's where we.
Yeah, they end up drinking in the bar, and that's where that's basically where you see
Iris.
I think that's where they tell you that this guy. This rapper, or come prophet of Jericho, this Jericho 1 has been killed in what appears to be a gang-related incident, and then it shows sort of a few sort of riots breaking out and that sort of thing, and they basically, I think Max makes a toast to sort of the end of the world.
And we also learn here about Gant, who managed Jericho 1. They have a brief discussion about this.
Yes.
Because
who is now
Faith
That's right.
Is dating or forced to date, not quite sure.
Yeah, it's
Gant,
isn't it? It's a bit grubby, whatever it is.
It's very grubby, yes.
I think it kind of suggests that she's only with him so that she can get a record contract. I think
she says outright basically later in the movie that she was, she's hoping that that she can get a record deal, because he's like, you're not going to get a record deal, and she's like, you never know, it's worth a shot. It's worth putting up with all of this just to deal with it.
And now, it's while this is going on that this is when Mace comes in.
It is. So yes, Mace comes in because Mace come in because his car gets towed.
Oh, because that's right.
But before the car gets towed.
So that's we're getting all this all over the place.
We always do. Whenever we do these, we get them all messed up. But I'm assuming that people have seen this movie, so they can bear with it. Shout at us for being wrong all the time. But so yes, Iris.
So he's working. Iris comes up to him and basically says that
she needs help.
That she needs help, and that Faith is in trouble.
Yeah,
and it's you have to see this this thing I've got. You'll come out.
Yeah,
but the cops turn up and she runs away.
Yeah, that's right.
But she's placed this disc inside his car. She drops it through the sunroof of his car. And that's when his car gets towed and gets
great.
Off, and
it's one of my favourite running gags in this movie is the Rolex. I love the Rolex thing. So the tow truck is about to tow his car away after Iris has put the unbeknownst to him, put the tape in the car. He tries to bribe the guy. He's like, "Here, have my Rolex.
Yeah, I got to go into the club, get some money, and I'll be back in 5 minutes." He says, sort of thing.
Yeah, and he comes back out, and of course the car's been towed anyway. But then he opens his briefcase, and he's got like 4 or 5 fake Rolexes. Puts on the next Rolex. It's obviously that's his, that's his game. That's what he plays every time he's in trouble. Have a Rolex. Have my Rolex. My most prized possession. But yes, so then he's carless, so he gets Mace to pick him up. So Mace picks him up and takes him to the nightclub where Faith is about to perform. And Lenny gets a squid disc from a contact there. Whilst he's there, I think this shows how good he is, though. This is one of those moments where he shows that he's not a bad guy, because the guy who we get. First of all, he goes in and he watches her, and then he gets chucked out, doesn't he? Well, yes, he tries to convince her to leave Gant, doesn't he?
So Gant's of course, new bodyguard chucks him out.
Of course, and Gant played by Michael Wincott, who.
I love Michael Wincott.
Only ever plays assholes and does it so well. Between The Crow and this, he was always like just a bad guy to me. I was like, okay, you're stuck in that, because I remember seeing him in like Alien Resurrection. I'm like, no, you're a bad guy.
I think in Alien Resurrection, one of the only times he's actually a good guy. So.
Yeah, but I couldn't take it.
I know he has played a few good guys, but. Like you said, in my head, he's pretty much always a bad guy.
When he plays a good guy, my brain just can't accept it. So he's a bad guy.
It's wrong, isn't it? And he's that voice of his. I love his voice. I loved his voice. He's so fucking cool.
He was never cooler than he was in The Crow. With the hair and that voice and the whole outfit, everything about him in that movie. He's like the coolest guy, apart from this fact that he's a homicidal maniac. Just the coolest guy.
Who loves his sister?
He loves his sister, yeah. Well, they're adopted, right?
No, with a half.
Oh, half, yes, that's right, because that's his justification, isn't it? He's like, half. It's like, okay. Oh, that makes it fine half. Then. Never mind. So, yes, he tries to convince Faith to leave Gant, which obviously doesn't go particularly well. Faith in this movie is somewhat of a... She's a very complex character, really, which you don't kind of realise on the surface of it. She does obviously care for Lenny. And in fact, at certain points in the movie, it's heavily implied that she's trying to get Lenny away from her for his own good.
Yeah. She is definitely trying to sort of trying to protect him from himself,
from herself as well.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of aware of what she's like and what he's like, and it's probably a terrible idea.
It basically establishes that she was like a runaway and that she was like selling herself.
Yeah.
And Lenny basically saved her.
Yes, and now she's got a regular gig at this place. She's hoping that because he's a music mogul that he's gonna elevate her career and she can make something of herself. She doesn't seem particularly happy with the situation. She's not happy being with him. I don't think she's happy with the way he treats her. But he is the one who, quote unquote, saved her from her previous life, and is hopefully going to give her a chance.
Yeah, and that's basically so he gets thrown out of the club by his one of his bodyguards, and he sneaks back in, and that's when you get he's up in this sort of gantry watching her.
Yeah,
and she's singing "I Can Hardly Wait" by PJ Harvey, and I love PJ Harvey.
Yeah,
I was when I first watched this, it was like, that's a PJ Harvey song. Why is she singing a PJ Harvey song? That's really fucking weird. But she sings it so fucking well.
I was going to say it's a good cover.
This is before she was in Juliet and the Licks.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm maybe this gave her a taste of it, and she thought maybe I should actually have a band.
Yeah,
because Juliet and the Licks are brilliant. They're a really good band.
Yeah.
And this is another one of those times where you see Ralph Fiennes basically is just stood there watching her. And the expression on his face, it's all in his face and his eyes. It's absolutely, you believe 100% that this guy
he is
just adores her.
He adores the ground she walks on. He is utterly in love with her. And so while he is there, he gets a squid disc from a contact, and
as I was going to say, this is the guy who, it looks like he runs the lights and the video in this club.
Yeah,
and he's got no legs, and he gives him a disc, which is basically a disc of some guy running along the beach.
Yeah, it's
looking at.
It's Rocky from Rocky 3.
It's Rocky from Rocky 3, yeah.
They put a squid on his head and had him run along the beach. Yeah, and again, like you said, quite rightly, another instance of showing Lenny's nice side. He doesn't just deal in horrible things. In fact, he goes out of his way to avoid horrible things, although he likes a bit of action.
Yes. I mean, obviously, he's got to sell the good stuff. He's got to sell,
he deals in pornography, and he deals in robberies and things like that. But he doesn't deal in death, and he does do these nice things.
Where he's got that bloke. Yeah, the scene where he's got that guy and he's talking to him and he's saying about, you got to do this, you got to do this, and he puts the thing on. He puts a wig over his already massive hair.
It looks ridiculous. It looks absolutely ridiculous.
He pulls it down. He says, "You look great." It's like, that's really well blended. Yeah. Fantastic, mate.
Because the guy's got curly hair and then he's put a straight wig over his head, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You look ridiculous. But and you're right. Yeah. So his contact, who has no legs, can then experience running along the beach. And that's what he does. So he goes back out and is then in the car with Mace, and he plays the disc that was given to him by the contact, and he basically sees Iris. This scene is fucking disturbing. I remember, last week we were talking about watching this movie, and you were like, "Oh, it's such a beautiful film," and I was like, "Yeah, it's fucking disturbing as well." It was this scene that I specifically remembered, and I was like, "Oh my god," because it's not just the visuals of the scene, it's what the person does,
everything that goes with it.
So Lenny plays the disc, and he basically sees Iris and someone breaking into Iris's hotel and raping and murdering her. But not only that, he also puts a squid on her head so that she can feel what he's doing. She basically sees him raping and murdering her and can feel what he's feeling. It's just the most horrendous thing. Like the visuals are disturbing enough, but the implications and the whole idea of what this person is doing is just so awful. Like that is the one scene. As soon as anyone says "Strange Days," it's that scene is burnt into my head permanently as just the most disturbing idea. Like it's just such a horrible idea. So in any case, yes. So Iris is raped and murdered in the hotel. He screams at Mace to go to the hotel while he's watching. They go to the hotel, and as they approach the hotel, they see a stretcher being taken out with Iris dead. Because I think at one point, doesn't Mace say maybe it's fake? It could just be a fake, or someone else.
Lines,
because Mace has never used it, so I'm assuming Mace is a bit ignorant to how the squid even works. But yeah,
I guess. I mean, she's been around Lenny enough, I guess, so she must know how it mostly works. So
I guess, I guess she must have a pretty good idea. So the next day they take the disc to Tick, and Tick's unable to figure out who recorded it effectively. He can't work out the source. Doesn't he? Is this the point where he says there's something weird about the
He says there's something wrong about the vision. Yeah, he says
he's got something wrong with the vision, maybe color blindness, or
impairment, or something. Yeah, exactly. He says there's something wrong. He said it would have been a custom deck, and he says to him, did you build it? And he said, well, he says I don't know for sure. He says, but I could have. I might have built this deck for whoever it was. And the Tom Sizemore character says, you know everybody, so whoever this is, you clearly know them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tick does say that Iris was looking for Lenny. At which point Mace is the one that says, maybe Iris left something in your car. Maybe. Yeah. So Mace and Lenny head to the impound to hopefully find the disc in Lenny's car. They break into the impound. They do find a disc. Lenny finds a disc, but then the two policemen, Steckler and Engelman, appear as they're leaving and demand the disc at gunpoint. And
again, those two characters, they're played by William Finchner and Vincent D'Onofrio. Again, characters that you go, well, they're clearly fucking dodgy.
Yeah.
They're not nice policemen, are they?
No. Lenny and Mace then escape in a car in their limo, in Mace's limo, and this scene is amazing. This car chase, this whole sequence here, is incredible. We have a really intense car chase with the cops, shooting.
And what I love is there's a brilliant bit where the back's getting all shot up, and May says something that you never hear in movies. She says the car is bullet resistant.
Yeah,
no one
and
ever
he's
says
like
bullet
resistant.
Everyone, he says, what happened to bulletproof? No one ever says bullet resistant in movies. It's always bulletproof.
But it is more accurate because it would very much depend on the bullet. Certain types of bullets will definitely go through bulletproof.
Yeah, exactly. Anything, that's it. Nothing is bulletproof. It can be bullet resistant. This car certainly is that.
Yeah, exactly. So they're escaping, but they're stopped when they come to the end of a dock. Basically, and they shoot the car up some more, and then they start pouring gasoline on the car and set it on fire.
They've shot out the wheels basically, so that they're only on the rims, and it's getting massively damaged. She tries to she loads the gun and she tries to get out, but the door won't open.
And then at that point, Steckler pours gasoline on the car and sets it on fire. And you get that wonderful moment when they're both sat in the car like, well, we're screwed. And Lenny's like, it's going to explode any second. And then Mace, of course, hits the gas and drives it off into the harbour, extinguishing the flames. And then we've got that wonderful moment where they're underwater, and Lenny's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, the car's not on fire anymore. Like one problem at a time. Come on."
Yeah.
Again,
so they crawl out through the back.
Again, Mace being a badass in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which happens a lot in this film, but this is probably her most badass moment, I think. Or this? Oh no, actually no. There's a few moments now. I think about it.
Yeah. She shoots out the back the boot with a shotgun.
Yes, bullet resistant, not proof.
They escape.
Yeah. So yeah, and then when they reach the surface, the cops have left because they assumed they're dead, which I thought was a bit weird. Actually, I did think these cops gave up pretty quick there.
They kind of did, yeah.
Yeah, because they seem quite determined to kill him, and then it was like, they're dead. It's like, are you sure?
Yeah.
You sure about that? I mean, they seem to be,
Yeah. I imagine there's quite a lot of air in one of those things if it was pretty well sealed.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah. So Mace then takes Lenny to her brother's house.
No, I think she goes to her house first. I think.
Is it her house first? That's why I
wasn't sure. Her house first.
Okay. And he convinces her to watch Iris's disc, effectively, doesn't he? Doesn't I think? I think
no. That's way later. I think we've missed bits because I think we've missed the bit where he's asleep. She takes it. No,
I thought that was later.
She takes him home, and he sleeps on her lap, and then that's when he wakes up and sees the disc in the window.
Oh right, you may be right.
Because I thought
that was way later in the movie.
No, I think that happens way before the. We only saw this the other day. That happens before.
Because I thought that was when he goes back to confront Faith. I think that's later in the movie, dude. Because I think that's when he goes back to try and get Faith back, and they all beat him up, and then she comes in for the save and takes him back to the hotel, and then he's sleeping on her. Then he takes her back. She takes him back to her place. I think that's later, but either way.
Okay.
I'm not sure. You may be right. But yeah, either way. So now that they've got the disc, obviously they watch. They watch the disc, and it shows the rapper Jericho 1, and they're pulled over. Basically, they're just driving along, pretty much, minding their own business. When they're pulled over by Steckler and Engelman, and they question why they've been pulled over. They're like, we have literally done nothing wrong. But they decide to search them, and they're saying, well, you're just searching black people for no reason. I do know who I am. I'm going to expose you cops for who you are, because I'm huge. I'm Jericho 1. I'm like the biggest. It's kind of insinuated he's like the biggest artist on the planet, basically, right now.
Yeah.
Effectively. Huge
pretty
guy.
Much.
And the content of his raps are very anti-establishment and talking about corruption within the police, corruption within the government. It's very much what he does. So he's like, I'm gonna I'm gonna show you all. I'm gonna show you all to the world. You're gonna be the subjects of my next rap. And I can't remember which one it is. I think it might be Steckler, but in any case, one of them says, no, you're not, and shoots him, and then shoots his friend as well, shoots the other girl, but Iris then escapes, and we see the first person perspective of Iris, is escaping.
I think you see that Iris is already when they're on the floor.
She knows.
Already see Iris is moving.
She's like,
she's already like trying to get away.
Yeah, I think that she's the one person that's like, I think that Jericho 1 is like, my celebrity will save me. And Iris is like, nah. I've seen, like, she's like you said, she backs away immediately, and she's like, no, fuck this. Like, you're
I've seen this movie.
Dead.
It doesn't end well for you.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, I think he then convinces Mace to see the video as well, which is her first experience with the disc, with the squid. Yeah. Sorry, because
he says, "I'm sorry, this is your first experience."
Yeah, but you have to see this. You have to see. Yeah. So they then return to Tick, and they discover, or Max has discovered, that he's been basically left brain dead by the squid, and it's established here that if you amplify everything on the squid, you basically put them into a
feedback. You fry the brain. Basically.
You fry the brain, but it's not technically murder because they're still alive.
No, because so they're not dead.
It's implied that this is used quite widely because technically you've not murdered someone; they're still alive.
Yeah.
So you've not murdered them, but they are as good as dead.
It's another grim detail of this technology.
Yeah. Because you even see it, don't you, when he tries to wake him up?
Yeah, you see him.
And you see that he's like vaguely aware.
He perceives him.
Yeah.
He's there, but he can't really grasp what he's seeing.
Or do anything.
No.
Again, yes, a lot of things implied in this film are just like, oh god, that's so horrible. So Lenny obviously immediately is concerned that it's Iris's attacker trying to cover his tracks.
Yep.
And they'll come after Faith because Faith knew Iris.
Yeah.
I think it is it. I think at this point as well we get. Is it at this point that Max says about the hit squad?
I think I'm not sure whether that was before then, but it is something. It's at this. It's around this point where he says about the hits. He's heard things about a hit squad going around.
Yeah.
And he, all these like weird things happening, and
it's all building to the Millennium Apocalypse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
and the powers that be being in control.
Yeah. So fearing for Faith's life, effectively, Lenny heads back to Faith and tries to convince her to leave Gant. And Gant basically says, "Okay, let's let her decide. She can choose.
Yeah.
Which way do you want to go, Faith?" And Faith stays with Gant, obviously really upsetting Lenny. Lenny gets in the lift, and as soon as he gets in the lift, which I think is a wonderful performance by Juliette Lewis here, by the way. The look on her face says everything when he goes down in the lift. She obviously really cares for Lenny. She really does.
Yep.
And she sort of screams at him.
Screams at him not to. I don't want to be saved anymore. Don't come back. Of course the lift passes the floor where he's supposed to get off.
Yes.
Where Mace is, and keeps going down into the next room where his the other guys,
goons,
Wincott's guys, are waiting for him. And one of the goons, the woman, I think her name is Louise Cavalier.
Right, I'm not.
She's a dancer.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she was in the Fame 90 video, the re-release of Fame by Bowie.
Oh, really?
And the video is just those two dancing, basically. And she can do a full, like barrel roll turn in the air from a standing position.
Wow, that's
she
incredible.
Is absolutely, she is absolutely brilliant. If you just go see the video, it's a great video.
I will look it up. She's fucking terrifying in this film, though.
Yeah, she was. I think she was quite famous for a while for the way she looked, and
right.
I think she was in demand as a dancer, and she's. And I love the like Lenny tries to buy them off with his watch
again,
and the guy
watch.
says. The guy puts it on his fist and says, "Is it shock resistant?"
I know, and Lenny answers. That's the best
fantastic.
Bit. Lenny answers,
says,
and it's like, you know where this is going, Lenny. What are you doing? It's little lines like that. I mean, it's quite a it is a dour, depressing movie in a way. In a lot of its themes, it's very dark and gritty. It does have occasional moments of humor, dark, but they're there. And that line actually made me laugh yesterday night when I watched it. I was like, that's brilliant. So Lenny gets his ass handed to him by like 3 people until Mace turns up and absolutely kicks ass. Totally. She beats off Lenny's attackers, and then Lenny hits the attacking girl with a chair, doesn't he? So he kind of helps her at the end, but pretty much Mace saved the day there. It was pretty much all Mace.
I do think maybe if this movie would have been like bigger at the time, maybe Angela Bassett would have gone on to be an action star. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, she's had quite a career, but yeah.
Oh, she's had a fantastic career, but I think she might have got a few more action roles. I think if this would have been a bit bigger, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd love to have seen her play a few more kick-ass characters.
A few more kick-ass characters would be good, but I wouldn't want to rob us of her more sort of incredible acting performances, which she went on to do. But yeah, so I think that it's at this point that Mace takes Lenny back to her place, and then they have the scene where he's on her knee. But you may be right. I only watched it yesterday, but already
because that's in his place where she takes him back to his place, and he sleeps on her knee. That because he wakes up because it's his apartment that he wakes up and the thing's in his window, because he goes to get his gun, doesn't he, which is under his bed.
Yes, that's right.
I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of it that way.
No,
right?
I think you're right. I think you are right, actually. Yes, I think you're right. So that's right. Yes, sorry. Yes, you're right. Then don't Lenny and Mace head back to the nightclub, don't they? And that's where they confront Faith, and she says that she basically explains what happened to Iris to an extent. So Iris, after the attack on Jericho 1, or the murder of Jericho 1, Iris...
What she explains is she explains that Gant has become super, super paranoid because of his obsession with using the squid. And
it's kind of fucked with his head.
He's started having his employees rigged up at all times.
Yeah.
He started having her followed, because you find out that Sizemore's character has been hired to follow not Iris, Faith around.
Yeah.
He's kind of like her sort of chaperone most of the time. Which initially Lenny's really pissed off about, but then as Max puts it, this is perfect.
I'm one of the good
I can
guys.
watch her for you.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can watch her for you. And this is when she says that he rigged up Iris so that he could keep an eye on Jericho, because he thought that Jericho was going to leave him.
That's right. But due to his paranoia, when Iris returned to him and basically said, this has just happened.
It all went to shit. And
I've got evidence right here on this disc. Gant freaks out, and he throws it in the...
Tries to pay her off. Yeah, he throws it in he burns it.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells her to go to a hotel.
Go to this specific hotel under an assumed name.
Yeah, under an assumed name.
And all will be fine.
and just wait for me to sort it out.
Just wait
basically.
for my goon to come in.
Of course,
just wait there for a little while.
She'd already been to Tick to have a copy, so the copy that he destroyed, was the first one, I think.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So I think he destroys the copy, and the original is still in circulation. I think.
Yes.
So then Lenny and Mace basically have a disagreement, because they're not sure whether to trade the disc to Gant for Faith's freedom, which of course is kind of odd because Faith has already said she's not interested.
Yeah,
but you know, he is. If nothing, he is persistent.
Yes,
Lenny is persistent in his love of Faith for most of this film.
Yeah.
Or whether they should release it publicly. Mace thinks they should release it publicly and out the police, but it would incite a riot in all likelihood. Obviously, Mace thinks that probably needs to happen.
Yeah. And that's where you get that, which I'd never put two and two together, actually. So there's a bit where after Lenny picks up all his box of Faith's the memories of Faith, and Mace like throws him against the wall and says, this is your life, this is memories are supposed to fade, and she breaks his things, and she says to him, this is your life right here, right now. And I never knew that line is the line sampled for the Fatboy Slim track. I never knew that, and every time I hear it, it's like, oh, that's where that came from. Why have I never put that together again? Obviously it's slightly altered, but it's quite blatantly that line from there.
Matt, I realised that last night. I did. I literally was like, oh yeah. I did the same. I was like, oh wow, that's where that was from. So yes, but yeah, so we're getting it's the final day, and we're approaching midnight of New Year's Eve. Heading into New Year's Day, and Lenny and Mace sneak into a private party at a hotel that Gant's hosting.
Go and confront Gant.
Yeah. So this is like it's a New Year's Eve party for like the city's 1%. It's the wealthy elite are all having a big party, and they head to the hotel, but Lenny has a change of heart and tells Mace to give the disc to the deputy police commissioner, who is the same,
which is the guy the guy that fired him, basically.
The same guy who fired him, and off the force, which is when he started his life of black market crime. He says something like he's so tight and so up his own ass. There's no way he's corrupt. Like, of all the cops,
he's the only guy he genuinely believes is not bent like the others.
Yeah. And one thing to this film's credit, which I kind of like, that turns out to be true. It's not like, oh, he was a villain the whole time. It's like, no, he genuinely is like, as that, he is that character. Our main character didn't get that wrong. So Lenny heads to Gant's penthouse. And when he gets there, he finds Gant brain dead on the floor.
Well, no, first of all, he doesn't. What he does is he finds a disc with it, with his name on again. He finds an envelope.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Yes, he finds the disc and watches. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he puts the. It's like, what the hell? You're in a fucking. You're in enemy territory.
I know.
And you're sticking a fucking thing on your head.
Yeah. At least get outside first. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you get this. You get again. It's this
unseen
person,
murderer.
Going into the room, who grabs Faith and then takes her to the bed and ties her up, and then starts. What you perceive is to be her being raped,
and strangled.
Then that's when he pulls the thing off and he goes to find her. He goes into the bedroom, and there's no sign of her, and there's a figure. He notices there's somebody against the mirrors, with a blanket on them, and he pulls the blanket off, and that's where he finds Gant, who obviously has been brain fried.
Yes, yeah.
And he goes back and watches the rest of the disc.
Yes, which has an ending.
Yes, where he finds out that Faith has been screwing Max all along.
Yeah.
In a sort of very weird, icky relationship.
It's not good, is it?
No. She's got fucking terrible taste in men. She really has.
It does.
And basically, while this is happening, then Max walks in, with a gun and says, this is it. He's gonna basically.
It was me the whole entire time.
Yes, he shoots Gant, and because he's gonna make it look like Lenny did it.
Yes, because he also says that you've got the original disc of Iris's death as well. So basically, he's been setting up Lenny from the very beginning. Everything's been kind of laid out to make Lenny look like he's the murderer. He did the murder and rape of Iris, and then he will have killed Gant in a fit of jealous rage. So this is when Faith turns up as well, isn't it?
And Faith comes in as well. Meanwhile, you've got Mace, who goes into the toilet to give this disc to the commissioner. Who basically tells her to get out, and he
basically says, "I should have you arrested for having that on you anyway."
And she leaves the disc with him, but she goes.
But she does plead her case, and she says, "If you want to know how Jericho died, that's how you find out."
She leaves, and as she's leaving, the bent coppers notice her, and they start basically
shooting at her.
Start following her, and then you get this sort of this fight scene between her and these two cops, in which she actually
shooting into a crowd as well. They at this point, those cops are just don't give a shit. They want her dead.
They just want her dead, and she beats them, and she cuffs them. And she's stood there, over them, and then you go back to. I think then you go back to.
We go back to the conversation.
To Lenny.
And so Faith explains that Gant hired Max to kill Iris. But Gant also wanted Faith dead as part of a cover-up. But Max, who had been hired to follow Faith, and also kill Iris, was in love with Faith and wasn't going to do that.
And he didn't, and Gant didn't know that Faith knew him through Lenny.
Yes, absolutely.
So she already knew him previously.
So Max decides to frame Lenny for the murders, and we get a great moment where Lenny is basically about to be killed. He's kind of done for here. Until he basically says, you're with Faith, but it'll never be as good as when she was with me.
You'll never have what I had.
You'll never have what I had. Causing Lenny Max in a jealous fit of rage to attack Lenny, and the two.
Well, he's just about to finish off, and Faith pulls his arm away.
That's right.
So he misses.
And then we have a fight between the two characters.
A tussle.
Which ends up going through the window out onto the balcony.
Yeah, that's also where you get you realize you're supposed to realize that he was wearing a wig all along.
I know, and it's it was the most obvious wig from the start.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the surprise, was it? Yeah, that whole bit is definitely the weak part at this point of this movie.
I think it probably would have worked better if everyone else previously in the movie was just wearing hats instead of wigs. They made too big of a deal of the wigs for it to be a surprise that he was wearing a wig. It was like, I assume most people are wearing wigs at this point, But yeah, so the wig is pulled off, and it's revealed that he is got a shaved head. They fall through the windows out onto the balcony, and then finally, Lenny throws Max off of the balcony, but Max grabs onto his tie.
Max has stabbed Lenny in the back with his.
Oh yes, of course.
Box cutter.
Yeah.
So he's got the box cutter stuck in his back.
Yeah.
And Max goes over the railing, holding on to Lenny's tie.
But then Lenny pulls the knife out of his own back, and cuts the tie, which is a great scene. I love that.
Is a great scene. It's fantastic.
You can see it coming a mile away, but it's just one of those. It's just
you
great.
Don't see it coming a mile away, but you forgive it because it's like because it's
awesome.
Cool. It's well done.
It's just awesome. So of course Max then falls to his death. He falls all the way from the penthouse down onto a van.
Which I must admit, he didn't make a very big impact.
No, I know.
Considering the size of Tom Sizemore and that car he falls on,
you would have
think he would have made a bigger impact.
Yeah. But so we then cut back to Mace.
And more police in riot gear have turned up, and they want her. They scream at her to put the gun down.
Yeah.
They subdue her. Mm-hmm. And they start to release the two coppers that she has cuffed.
Yeah.
And she's screaming at them not to do it. It's they're murderers, and meanwhile they're beating her down. At which point the crowd around them
crowd are starting to
get riled up, and this little boy jumps on one of the coppers' backs, and then they all. Basically, a riot ensues.
Yeah,
and they're sort of all the police are turning up, and that's when a helicopter turns up, and then a full-on squad in full armor turns up, and surrounds them, and that's when the police chief guy turns up, and he says, "Arrest those two guys," and he holds the disc up.
Yeah. So he's watched the disc. He tells them to arrest the two
some
cops.
Medical attention.
Now, if this film were any other film, that's where this would end.
Yeah. I think so. I think the thing is it's. I mean that big party was an actual rave. They had bands playing.
Oh really?
I think the lady Miss Keir played. Obviously, you get Skunk and Nancy are playing, which is fucking awesome. Really cool seeing.
Yeah, full on face painted up, and it's great.
Yes, so it was a full on. They did a full on sort of party there.
Mm.
So the crowds are phenomenal, and when the actual the 2000 thing hits, it's actually hopeful. There's people are cheering. Yeah, people are cheering, and you get some girl kissing one of the soldiers. Yeah. And it's a kind of slightly uplifting sort of ending, really.
Apart from Engelman grabs a gun, his gun, turns it on himself, shoots himself through the mouth, blood splatters all over Steckler, who then threatens Mace with his gun.
He's literally. What I love about that scene is awesome. He is
great.
Literally dragging his dead partner
across the ground. Yeah. He's holding a gun at Mace.
While he's absolutely drenched in blood and trying to kill Mace.
Lenny then finds Mace and basically shields her as he's about to shoot. But then all of the other officers just gun Steckler down.
Up. Yeah. He gets completely wasted.
And then Lenny and Mace have a kiss as the new millennium is happens. We get the year 2000, and we see a brief shot of Faith being led away in cuffs.
Yeah.
And
I also like is that she says what happens now, and he says, "Oh, we're gonna go. We'll end up 6 hours. They're going to arrest us." He's no, but they're going to talk to us for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, it's no one, and again, no one ever says that sort of thing at the end of a movie either. They just the police just let them go.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a couple of weeks back. Die Hard. They just get in a car, and drive off. It's yeah, sure, no problem. Really? No one's going to question you about that, McLean.
You don't need to explain yourself or anything. It's fine. Off you go.
Yeah. So and then that's credits. Strange Days, an amazing film, and a film I haven't watched for a long time.
Great soundtrack as well.
Oh, the soundtrack's
really
excellent. The visuals are excellent.
Soundtrack.
The direction is phenomenal. The cinematography in this film is incredible.
Yeah, and it's a shame that it derailed Catherine Bigelow's career for a while until The Hurt Locker, I think.
Yeah, I mean, she's a tremendous director, and it is criminal. But this film is really, it really doesn't get enough time. It doesn't get the praise it's needed. I was blown away that I couldn't even rent it.
Yeah,
that really
it's weird. It's like a forgotten movie almost. You know, it's one of those movies that seems to have slipped through the cracks. And I think
it's a Fox movie in America, distributed by Fox, and maybe Disney just don't want anything to do with it. I don't know.
It could be. I think I heard somewhere that Cameron wanted to do the Blu-ray copy, like conversion himself.
Oh, cool! That would be cool because he'd give it some proper time and attention.
Yeah, but I think it's because of like his Avatar stuff. I think he's just sort of another one of those things that he's put on the back burner. So it could be one of those things that he never gets round to doing, you know?
Yeah. That would be a real shame. It would be lovely to see a remaster of this movie.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be really nice. Just a little clear up here and there would be beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. An absolutely wonderful film. Really, it's never been more relevant than it is right now.
I was going to say, I was wondering how that was going to stand up, because
it stands up better now than it did when it came out, I think.
I think that's the thing. I think it does seem now even more timely, and it just goes to show how much like things change but things fucking stay the same.
Yeah.
It's it's 25 years old, this fucking movie.
I think you said it best when you said at the start of this that if this had come out this year, you'd be like, God, this is on the fucking nose. Like, this is really on the nose.
Yeah.
But it's a 1995 movie that's just so wow. I mean, it's never been more relevant. It's unbelievable. It really is. Watching it last night, I was like, wow, this is timely that we're doing this review.
I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, maybe I chose the wrong movie to do for this.
Well, I didn't think about it, to be honest, until I started watching it, and I was like, oh wow, like I'd forgotten how topical this is. But it's a tremendous film, and it goes to show, as we've said time and time again, there's nothing wrong with tackling these kind of issues. There's nothing wrong with tackling any kind of issue in your film. It just needs to be well written, and it needs to be well directed. And this is a shining example of a film that tackles some really, really important issues, some really dark issues.
I think
does it so well.
The thing is when it came out, it was not long after Rodney King had happened.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after Tupac and Biggie had been killed.
O.J. Simpson as well would have been around this time, right?
Yeah, all these things really did feed into this movie.
Yeah,
and again, maybe that was why at that time maybe people didn't want to be reminded of that. Maybe people wanted something a little lighter from their sci-fi. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but I hope that it gets. I mean, I think it has become a cult movie. But I don't know anyone that doesn't like it.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that doesn't like it. Like anyone I know that's seen this movie is like, that movie is amazing.
I think it's actually harder to find people that have seen it. I think that's the problem. Most of the people I know
just our
haven't
friends
seen
group,
it.
Like I feel like a lot of people I know have seen it, but yeah, maybe that's just us. I don't know. But yeah, a tremendous film. All
the performances are great. The direction's great.
Yeah.
There's just nothing wrong other than the Max character being, I think,
a little obvious.
Maybe if they would have cast somebody else and not made the wig quite so obvious, it wouldn't have been quite so sort of jarring.
Yeah.
But I think as a small,
it's a nitpick.
Ding in it. It's a brilliant bloody movie.
It's an amazing movie. Like you said, an amazing cast, incredible performances. People with minor performances in this movie have gone on to amazing things. It's a must-see, and unfortunately the only way you're going to see it is on DVD or Blu-ray. So I would highly recommend people picking it up. I think I picked it up for £4 on Amazon, something like that.
Worth every penny. it's the cost of a standard rental, isn't it? And you get to own a great movie.
Well, that was the thing. That I mean, like, you know, if it was a different film, I might have just messaged you and been like, oh, actually, I don't own it. Can we just, you know, talk about Cobra Kai and do a movie another time? But because it was this movie, I was like, no, I want to own this movie anyway. It's fine. This is a great movie. I'd love to own it. So, not much more to say other than it's incredible and it's a must-see if you haven't seen it. Even though we've just spoiled the whole thing. Still worth watching. But in any case, we will be back.
It is, you know, you want to see it, you know, just don't, you know, not over our babblings. Go see the movie. It's great.
Yeah, and we get things out of order. We're all over the place, so you know, watch it properly. An incredible movie. In any case, we will be back next week when we can finally discuss Cobra Kai, which is what I want to discuss more than anything else.
We will, yeah.
So until then, stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.